Lou, such a pleasure to speak with you, especially about a film as interesting as that too. I was really blown away by it, and particularly your performance. It was such a great surprise. I hadn't seen the festival buzz, so this just totally took me by surprise, and I loved it. There's so much intensity to your characters, and viewers are really on edge, wondering who's going to snap initially and where this film's going at first. Can you speak to the elements that you really honed in for in this particular character? Because there's an electricity in this performance.
Thank you. That means a lot to me. I really appreciate it, and I love the fact that you didn't know what was coming, because that was the way it was with the festival audiences. They didn't know what to expect because the film sort of defies categorization. You don't know what you're going to get, and there were times during the festivals when the audience finally realized that they had permission to laugh because some of this stuff is dark and funny. Um, and Brent is such an intense character. He is wound so tight, and he starts at a certain level, and it just escalates from there. And the fact that the film itself is very condensed. It takes place mostly in one night. It's a little bit like Birdman in that respect. I mean, it's almost real time to a certain degree, and I just loved that. But also, I mean, the writing, Max's writing was so wonderful. So many monologues, so much verbiage. Such an articulate, literate, intelligent character. I mean, yes, pretentious. Yes, an elitist and a purist, but there's something so fun about that. And so, for me, it was really getting the language right. Approaching it much like I would approach a theater piece where the word is sacred and you say it exactly the way he wrote it. So you find a way to make that syntax yours. And I just I love the challenge, and then get to set and find out that we're doing these long takes, 5 6 pages at a time, and only like one or two, three takes max. I think maybe 2 times, 3 times during the course of the show, I actually got a third take. I mean, a lot of that stuff is boom, rehearse it. Max likes it, put it down. And I said he's like a Steven Soderbergh wannabe, this kid, because if he liked it, that's it. You move on.
That's high praise, and I know you worked with him on Shay, and that's
I
a
did.
great film as well.
But that's the same thing. I think I got 2 takes in every scene I ever did. And that was only, and it's like, oh, that was great. Let's move on. It's like, can I have another?
Yeah, he's a machine, Soderbergh is.
Yeah.
And this film's very appropriately Shakespearean, as you were saying, and Julius Caesar's the backdrop to this whole movie. And as you mentioned, it takes a while for the crowd to understand that they can laugh. There's like a real tone shift about halfway through, and it gets darker and much funnier than I was expecting. And Shakespeare's obviously very funny in his works,
Yeah.
even though we know the tragedies best of all. What did you like most about that juxtaposition of having Julius Caesar in the background while all this chaos is happening, in the backstage?
It's absolutely operatic, you know. It's uh the setting and the tone of it is and it's also the heightened language that Brent uses. I mean, you are immersed in the theater. This isn't it's so funny. I mean, one of the notes that he gives in the beginning is like, it's all too casual, you know. There's nothing casual about what he does, and it's all at 11, and so that growing sense of drama that and especially in a play like Julius Caesar, where everyone knows you're building to the murder. It's pretty fascinating, and once again, Max, as a young writer director, did something that I feel is very classic. I mean, Vincent Price could have played this role, back in the 70s. It would have been fantastic.
About 50 minutes into the film, Malcolm McDowell comes out, and he just commands the scene and the screen. It's incredible. How is it getting to work with him, another legend? Because like he's still firing on all cylinders. It's a classic performance by him.
100%. And this role is so tailor-made for him. I mean, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if Max told me he actually wrote it for him. Uh, it is, I don't know, man. It's just so entertaining to watch. And I had a front row seat, being in the scenes with him. And like I said, we would do one rehearsal and then a couple of takes, and it was just like boom, 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 boom. We were ready, man. When it was, game on, there we went, and we had a really fortunate chemistry from the beginning, and a great rhythm. And I mean that's why so many of those shots are two shots, and you just see us going back and forth, and having a great little tennis match. It's a joy. I mean, as an actor, that really is kind of the epitome. You're striving your whole career to have that kind of work on film with that kind of other actor.
And you play a stage director in this film. I know you did an acclaimed run of The King and I, but I wasn't sure how extensive your theater background was. Did you incorporate any like facets of directors you've worked with into this character, or how was it about finding his quirks? Because Brent has a lot of quirks.
He's got a lot of quirks. Fortunately for me, I've never worked with anybody quite like him. Yes, I played the King and the King and I in a revival. We won Best Revival in '97, directed by Christopher Renshaw, who's very English and very demanding and very pointing, And so there's a bit of that there. Dr. Peter Weller is a really good friend. Not only a fantastic actor, RoboCop, but a wonderful director, and he's directed me a couple of times. And he has a great presence and a great flam. He will wear a beret without irony. And when I was developing the look, for Brent, that's the glasses and the sort of Tim Burton hair, just really trying to create an iconic look and feel for this guy. Luis Valdez is a really strong, director. I go back to, and by the way, I have a degree in theater, a Bachelor of Fine Arts from the University of Texas at Arlington. And I started off doing a lot of professional theater and do theater, whenever I can. I wrote a play that was done at the Seven Angels Theater in Connecticut, a comedy called Burning Desire. Just about a year and a half ago, I did Miss Saigon at Casa Manana in Fort Worth. So I try to get back on stage and keep those muscles working. So yes, I had a lot to pull from.
I love that even at like this stage of your career, you're still so vibrant and excited about the arts. Like it's so great to see. And I'm a huge fan of westerns, so I have to ask. I'm a big fan of the Young Guns movies. What's the latest update on Young Guns 3?
I talked to Emilio a couple of weeks ago, and right now we're on. We're on. I think we hope to shoot in the fall, late September, October, November, somewhere right in there. He's already location scouted back at some of the original locations in New Mexico. Myself, Christian Slater, Emil is going to direct and obviously play Billy. He wrote the script with John Fusco, the original writer. It's really exciting and it's really, really solid. The script is fantastic.
That is so exciting. And I was also curious. I'm a big video game fan, and I always thought it was so cool that you voiced Forge in the X-Men Legends games. What interested you about that role? Because I haven't seen you do a ton of voice work before then. I've seen you do some more recently, but how did that come about?
That one was so bizarre. That one just kind of came to me. They offered it to me, and I ended up doing two of those games. I always wished that Forge would show up in the movies because then maybe I can make the jump, like Jeffrey Wright did with The Last of Us. But I think a lot of people know now that I'm in Call of Duty Black Ops 6, where they facial captured me in addition to performance capture. So that is me. They put a full beard on me though. I look like Ben Affleck in Argo. And I'm also in Diablo. I think it's a Diablo 4. I'm
Yes.
sort of the spiritual guide in that. And then a couple of other appearances. Spectre in what Crisis, Infinite Planet Crisis, something like that. So yeah, I'm doing, and I've got a big animated voiceover performance coming up soon that I signed an NDA for. So keep your ears open, though. That's coming pretty soon.
That's very exciting. You mentioned you'd hope they would introduce Forge sometimes in the movies. X-Men are coming to Marvel in the future. Would you be interested in doing a superhero movie if the
And
role was right?
in a heartbeat. Are you kidding me? It's so funny. I literally saw Frank Grillo recently, and we did Werewolves together, which I was thrilled. The film came out wonderfully, and it got a theatrical release, and I think might still be streaming. But he pops into Superman and has a little role, and it's like, oh, you get into one of these, and you got connective tissue to some of the other films, and so that's not a bad gig to have.
Yeah, Werewolves was a blast. It was a great movie with you and Grillo. And my last question for you, it feels like sacrilege to me, but there's been talk about a remake of La Bamba, and that's like a perfect movie to me. So I just wanted to get your thoughts because that's one of your most iconic performances. Like, do you have any mixed feelings about that? Because that is a role you really defined, but it's also like a great story, and more people will revisit the original if it does happen. So like there's a lot to ponder there.
Yeah, no, that's happening as well. And it's interesting when I first heard about it, and I heard about it from the family. It was Irma and Mario's little brother and little sister who I've seen a lot recently. They said, they're going to remake it. I said, why? And that's exactly what Luis Valdez said. But then Luis signed on to like be a consultant, so I think that'd be good. My first thought is if it benefits the family, I'm happy. That's great. And I thought, what is there left to tell? I mean, it's interesting because his career was only 8 months long. He was 17 years old. We covered a lot of ground, focused on the family. It might be interesting. I've said this before. I actually got approached to do a Buddy Holly project, and I thought what you should show that nobody's ever shown was how tough the Winter Party Dance Tour was. 2, 3 weeks of sheer hell that led Holly to make that decision to charter the plane. The bus was breaking down. The heater didn't work. They were sleeping in their clothes. They hadn't done laundry in weeks. They were burning newspapers in the aisles. I think the drummer of the band got frostbite in his toes. So that in and of itself might be an interesting angle. And then just some of the adventures that Richie had as fame overtook him. The Alan Freed show in New York, the Dick Clark. Those are all touched on, but not in a whole lot of depth. So I think if somebody is doing their research, there is an interesting angle there, depending on what they want to do. But if they do a straight remake, it'd be like, why would you do that?
Yeah, totally. That's a great point. It's been really cool seeing you do more directing in TV lately.
Thank you.
Fingers crossed you'll get to do another movie here soon. I would love to see another feature from you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah, and then I got the Chair Company with Tim Robinson coming on HBO in October. It's workplace comedy, funny stuff. I get to play Tim Robinson's boss, and man, that guy's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah, he just goes to 11.
that's gonna be great. I'm so excited for that. Thank you so much for your time, Lou, and congrats on this film. Like this just instantly became one of my favorite of the year. I really loved it.
I appreciate that, Tyler.